So, there I was, online, minding my own business, trying to learn more about the Foucault pendulum. I learned that it is assumed to be a gravity-driven device used to measure the assumed rotation of the Earth. I learned that you could theoretically calculate your latitude at any given location on Earth with just a long string and a heavy object suspended from a tall ceiling set into a swinging motion. I say theoretical because, like almost everyone else in this world, I do not have the means or the security clearance level to build a very tall structure directly at the North or South Pole to conduct an unbiased experiment to make a conclusion for myself. I learned about the Elias effect as well. This is a measurable effect on Foucault pendulums during a solar eclipse. Pendulums have been reported to deviate from their plane of oscillation in various odd ways and directions, but not always. I'm not going to bore you with the details of the reports. You all can search that online with a couple of keystrokes for yourselves. But to summarize the observation reports by various published physicists around the world, they don't have a clue how gravity plays its various roles in the anomalies, but they all agree that the gravitational theory needs to be modified and the Elias effect observations do not satisfy conventional explanations. I will come back to the Elias effect problem in a few minutes. So, during my quest for knowledge about the Foucault pendulum, I think I might have stumbled onto a couple of tidbits of insight into the inner workings of the Foucault pendulums that have been used for scientific study and research and are currently in operation at universities, museums, and major shopping centers worldwide for almost 7 decades. I don't think these tidbits of information I stumbled onto is anything that the general public is aware of. I thought it would be a good idea to start from the beginning and look into the manufacturers of the Foucault pendulums around the world, and, as it turns out, I can only find one: Academy Pendulums, based in California. Furthermore, they appear to have a monopoly on the Foucault pendulum business, with a whopping 122 installations worldwide, starting as far back as 1951 through till 2011. There are more pendulums installed since 2011, but there is still only one manufacturer, so I'm pretty sure it is still a monopolized industry. Another interesting fact I stumbled onto was this. All of the Foucault pendulums worldwide that have been used as a scientific representation of the Earth's assumed rotation are all electronically controlled using magnets with a carefully timed kick, as the company states, to keep the pendulum in motion. That's right, a carefully timed kick to keep the pendulum in motion. I personally think that it is no accident that there is only one man in the world who personally manufactures the all-important electromagnet, and that it is no accident that there is only one manufacturer in the world of the only device known to science that can allegedly detect the Earth's rotation in a visible fashion for the world's population to see. This guide for docents that comes with the pendulum package tells you how to talk to visitors at their level. Now, that sounds a little bit insulting if you ask me. They also say here to stay away from the more technical aspects of how the pendulum works. Unbelievable. They are teaching the docents to avoid talking tech with the public. Well, I don't think there's a problem with tech talk with the public, unless maybe they don't want any unnecessary questions being raised. Questions like, does the magnetic drive system on the pendulum assist in its rotation? In the spirit of fair play, I will state that Academy Pendulums claims the magnetic control system is only used to keep the swing of the pendulums in motion. I think you know where I stand on that issue, but I digress. It also strikes me as odd that the most world-renowned scientific device of all time used to measure the awesome and amazing rotation of the Earth and invented by a now famous French scientist has been monopolized and is made in the USA. Seems weird. A full list of Foucault pendulums to date is available from Wikipedia online. If the controls are in fact necessary to keep a Foucault pendulum in motion for scientific research, then why is there no mention of this in any of the articles or publications online until you get toward the end of the publication and only after you've already been told what the pendulum does and what it measures? It's not that it's hidden knowledge, but it's not exactly openly offered to the public as common knowledge near the top of the page either, along with other scientific facts and the history regarding the Foucault pendulums around the world. You have to look for it. You have to read past the mathematical formulas and other experiments to see mention of the electromagnetic drive system required to keep the pendulums in motion. I have asked several people what they know about the Foucault pendulum. Some have heard about it, but don't know much about it. Some know what it is and what it measures. And some have seen one in action up close and personal, but absolutely none of them knew that the Foucault pendulums around the world are controlled and operated by an electromagnetic system. Coincidence? Maybe. It all sounds pretty sketchy to me, but that's just me. It's up to you to decide for yourself. While we are here on the Foucault pendulum site, let's take a look at Foucault's other experiment using a gyroscope in 1952, 1 year after his pendulum invention. To demonstrate rotation directly, rather than indirectly via the swinging pendulum, Foucault used a gyroscope in a 1952 experiment. The gyro was spun up to 9,000 to 12,000 RPM, which allowed sufficient time to balance the gyro and carry out 10 minutes of experimentation. Using a microscope, he got a reading of 1/10 of a degree. Now, the popular bald earth argument on YouTube regarding today's far more advanced and precise gyroscopes is that they are not sensitive enough to measure the Earth's rotation. Now, you can choose to believe this statement. You have free will fully intact. But I would trust today's high-tech gyros manufactured using computer-controlled machinery to produce high-quality, high-precision, balanced parts rather than a gyro handmade by a guy using nothing but 1800s technology and an assumed high level of craftsmanship. And as it turns out, there have been absolutely 0 degrees of rotation measured independently by anyone, anywhere in the world, using today's high-tech precision gyroscopes. Coincidence? Maybe. It's up to you to decide for yourself. We will be right back to end this video after a quick message from our sponsors.
Besides the familiar but weak force of gravity, there are three other forces in this universe, each of which is vital for our existence. Now, it may not seem obvious, but the force that holds these bubbles together is the same force that allows this flame to burn. Electromagnetism. It's the force that allows us to push and pull things, the force that allows us to see everything.
Let's look at what we know. We know that the Foucault pendulums are controlled with electromagnetic intervention by design, and we know that our natural world is dominated by electricity and the power within. Now, if we add in what we know about the Elias effect and other unexplained anomalies with the Foucault pendulums during solar eclipses, things start to make sense. We know that electronics and even entire power grids can crash during such solar events. So there is definitely a connection between solar eclipses and the Earth's electromagnetic field. So it seems possible to me that the Foucault pendulum's electromagnetics and/or control systems may be affected by the disruption of the Earth's electromagnetic field when the moon passes in front of the sun. It's my opinion that scientists are chasing their gravitational tails around in circles, thinking in terms of the ball Earth and gravitational forces causing the Elias anomalies and trying to measure the immeasurable, when all the while they are looking at the wrong Earth model and measuring the wrong forces. So, to sum it all up, we have a monopolized company manufacturing the Foucault pendulums and one man alone, Cary Ponchioni, making the ever-important electromagnet. The company does not wish for docents to talk with the public about the technical aspects of the pendulum, and, although not really hidden, one would have to read well past the basic functions of the pendulums and past other inventions and scientific studies involving them before they would ever hear anything about the electromagnetic drive system of the Foucault pendulums.